Hello Frugal fans, it's the Frugal Gamer, and I'm once again reviewing my stash to save you cash. And today I'm reviewing God of War Chains of Olympus. Now this one I'm reviewing is actually on the PlayStation 3. It is a port, but overall it's still the same game with some souped up, done better work on graphics and things like that to improve it. Now God of War Chains of Olympus is another third-person action-adventure video game developed this time by Ready at Dawn and Sedemaka Studio. It's published by Sony Computer Entertainment and it was released for the PlayStation Portable originally on March in 2008. This game is actually the fourth game in the God of War series, but chronologically in the story, it is the second game. It'll take place directly after the first God of War. It's loosely based once again on Greek mythology, and it is set in ancient Greece. The player will once again control the protagonist Kratos, which is a Spartan warrior who serves the Olympian gods at this point. He killed the God of War in the original one, so hopefully I didn't make any spoilers there. And now he's a servant to the Olympian gods to help him relieve the issues that he's been dealing with. Throughout this game, as well as the first one, he's guided by Athena. In this game, he's instructed to find the sun god Helios, as the dream god Morpheus has caused many of the gods to slumber in Helios' absence. So you're going to get, once again, like traditional God of War games, you power yourself up because you're going to take on the big guy. Alright, so the gameplay, once again, is very similar to the previous installments. It has a heavy focus based on combat and has some quick time moments. I'll get to the quick time probably again later. The character's main weapon, once again, is the Blades of Chaos, and the secondary weapons are going to be, once again, acquired throughout the game. Now, as I mentioned with the quick time, there's quick time events that have to, like little mini games throughout where you have to hit buttons and time sequence events. But I tend to personally, and this is a personal assumption, I'm not a big fan of quick time. That's one of my biggest irks in video games. Is that, but I will say, compared to other God of War games, this doesn't have as much of them. I don't mind them like when you're hitting some kind of big guy and you have to rip his eye out or something and time that. But when the very ending of the game requires 3 quick hits of quick time where you die instantly, I can't stand that. But this game seems to reduce the quick time events a little bit in the God of War series. Okay. So it does feature those. Those actions are used to defeat your stronger enemies and bosses. And the player gets to use up to 3 magical attacks as alternative combat options. The game, once again, also features puzzles and platforming elements. So when the violence seems like maybe it's getting overwhelming and you're hacking and slashing like crazy, eventually it will throw puzzles at you. But none of the puzzles are very hard. It's ultimately just good. The controller setup was configured for the PlayStation Portable, though. So it does have fewer buttons than the traditional PlayStation 2 controller or what you'll have in the PlayStation 3, which will require you to do little bit differences for selecting certain things and activating actions of your character. But to be honest, I did not find that any issue at all. Matter of fact, I like them quite a bit. I don't care which one I'm playing, which set of controller functions, they all work very well. This game received a very high score. It did very well. And it should. It's a very good game. As you can see here, the graphics of the game are very good. It has 3D elements. 3D style looking elements. And it seems to be graphically somewhere in between God of War 1 and 2. It had limitations on the PlayStation Portable, but when it was ported to this, I think they've souped it up a bit. The graphics, the visuals, just like any God of War game, seem to be quite spectacular. It really gives a big feel to the game. Notice here, there we go, the sound effects too in this game are also very good. As I said, it resembles the previous installments graphically as well as combat control-wise. Now, the game is viewed from a fixed camera perspective as you go out, and sometimes that can cause issues. So let's look at some of the pros and cons of this game, shall we? Some pros, as I said, was the graphics, in my opinion, are quite phenomenal, especially for a PlayStation Portable port. The sound is very good. The story is good. The protagonist character itself is very good. The control scheme is good. The hit detection is good. The game has a good mixture of puzzles as well as action. And doesn't leave you feeling overwhelmed that you're just button mashing, because that can get very boring at times. The visuals keep putting you in different areas like any God of War game that gives you different views and different looks depending as you travel. The story is a continuing story, adding even more to it, which adds another great element. now that I've went through some of the pros, I like to hit the cons more towards the end. This game is also similar to other God of War games where you find chests containing orbs of different colors. Green, blue, red, and things like that. So for example, blue does your magic, green does your health bar. Red orbs will help give you orbs towards upgrading weapons. You can also get Gorgon eyes to increase your health, and feathers to help increase your overall magic meter. As you go, one of my favorite weapons I always say is I always go for his chain, the blades, the themes of blades first when I up them, but I also use certain magic. You find what works for you. It allows you to tailor the character to your fighting style, which is quite awesome. His main weapons, as any other game in this series, is his Blades of Chaos. Their pair of blades are attached to chains that are wrapped around the character's wrists and forearms. In gameplay, he can swing those offensively in various maneuvers. As the game progresses, Kratos acquires new weapons too, like a Sun Shield, the Gauntlet of Zeus, which is pretty awesome. And he offers new, different combat options. His magical abilities are also different in this game from others, like the Efrit, the Light of Dawn, and Charlotte's Wrath, giving him a variety of ways to attack and kill his enemies. He acquires the Relic Titan's Lance later, similar to Poseidon's Trident in the original God of War, which this allows him to breathe underwater, which is a necessary ability as parts of the game require long periods of time underwater. As I mentioned before, I'm not a big fan of QuickTime events, so that's your own. Now notice here visually I'm showing a boss battle, some of the boss battle, and it's just pretty darn awesome. You'll see that every time you get in these battles, these epic battles, Kratos never seems like a wimp, but you always feel tense. Like, okay, these guys are some tough guys. They're not going to be easy to take out. So you never are left feeling helpless, but you're never left feeling this is going to just be easy and I'm going to womp on this guy. Alright, so some other things now. Let's look at some possible negatives. Now, one you might view as a negative and one not is, this is not a children's game. This is not for young kids, and you should not play this game in front of your young kids. This game, once again, has another sexual mini-game. I know a lot of people like those. I don't really particularly think they are needed to be in there, but they are. So be careful. It's early on in the game. If you're playing this game, this probably should not be played in front of your children, for once, because of that sexual element, as well as the nudity and things throughout the game, too. Yeah, I just don't recommend it for young kids. On top of that, the violence level in this game, where you're ripping things apart and there's throwing blood everywhere and things. And as you've seen here on the video I showed, this creature is pretty mean looking. This is probably not a good thing to have your kids seeing. Okay? So bear that in mind. This is not a young children's game. Alright, now some of the negatives. Now this is a negative that I use very lightly. It's not a heavy negative. The game is shorter than your regular PlayStation God of War games. I would say it's probably around half or a little bit over half the length. Now, just because I say it's not as long, you do have to remember the God of War games are very packed full of information and things like that. They take a lot of disk space. They are very good for your money games with a lot of playability. They're long games. This game, by any means, is not a short game, and it's not a ripoff. It's still a pretty long game. It's a good game for your money. I would strongly, consider that. So don't think, oh, this game's only half the length, it's not going to be as good. It's a very good put together game. This does not seem like a thrown together, oh, let's milk the fan base for some money. This looked like a game of labor and care for the series that's handled well. Alright, so as I said, that is one, probably the biggest gripes you can get. Another one is, this has the arena mode that you've seen in other God of War games. I'm just not a big fan of those. Like, oh, kill so many guys with fire. Yeah, it's an add-on. It adds to the game. More power to them. And that's fine. I don't know. I just like something different. But I guess a lot of people like it, so more power to you. If you like the arena part, it adds more to the game for you. If not, it's probably not any real addition for you as well. Alright, so Chains of Olympus is, once again, set in Greece. It's a good continuance of the game. If you're going to play it, it's up to you which order you play the games in. If you're going to play them the way they were manufactured, it'd be in the 4th installment. If you want to play them chronologically, you'd probably actually play Ascension first, then God of War 1, then this one, then Ghost of Sparta, I believe, and then God of War 2, and then God of War 3 takes off right after. I will be reviewing the whole disc, the saga in its entirety, but as I said, I'm doing these one at a time. As you see here in the picture, the visuals are fantastic. Is it worth really all your money? Well, first of all, you can get the Saga new for around $20. It is a must-buy. If you have a PlayStation, this is a must-buy. If you don't have the PlayStation 3, this is probably, if you were considering getting it, if you wanted to pick up some games for a discount, things like that, this is one of them you should definitely get. This one is, in my opinion, that Saga disc is a system seller. It's just wonderful all around. It's action-packed. When you feel like you're maybe finally getting a little overwhelmed by fight scenes, boom, they throw in a puzzle or something. And I never felt too overwhelmed. Matter of fact, in the first God of War 1 and God of War 2, there's a couple times the combat seemed a little overwhelming. They were overdoing it. I always say at the end of God of War, it's like running the gauntlet. They seem to want to all of a sudden make you go through a hallway or something, just creature after creature after creature. And don't get me wrong, I like slaughtering creatures in God of War as much as the next guy, but it starts feeling a little bit butt mashy. So at that point, you know, I just wish they would maybe back off. Overall, the game's a great game. The plot's good. The characters in this game add depth. So there's a lot to it. Alright, so I want to end up once again reminding you guys that Frugal Gamer is not sponsored by any game manufacturer or anything. I'm not told to say good things or pushed to say good things and positive things about the game. My reviews and opinions are my own. Another little segue too I want to put on that is say thank you to all you gamers. I have 2 videos that hit over 100 views. Now, granted, that doesn't seem like much, but I haven't been doing this very long, and I'm a new YouTuber, so that means a lot to me, and I'm very thankful. So if you found this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you hit like, subscribe, and share it with others, because your support has been absolutely wonderful. So thank you very much. I appreciate it, and until next time, keep it frugal.